all of these unfilled tags, they weren't supposed to happen. They weren't the goal. But instead, those unfilled tags, they're a reminder. A reminder of the difference between potential and reality. That hard work, passion, and dreams aren't always enough. But many times, an unfilled tag is all we're left with. No antlers, no stories of success, just an unfilled tag. Our 2016 deer season kind of cut up to us in a hurry. We were both gone this summer, so when we got back it was about mid-July. So we only had about 2 weeks to do some of that preseason stuff that you like to do all throughout the summer to get prepared for this season. We liked the property we were on. We knew it was going to hold deer along the river. We knew there had to be deer there, so our expectations were pretty high. There's some soybeans on the other side of this property, so early season you go to the soybeans, it just makes sense. So we went over there one night to try to scout and get some velvet footage, and lo and behold, there's 2 bucks out there about 5 minutes after we get there. We knew exactly where they came out and where they were walking. We knew exactly where we needed to hang our stakes.
We just had those 2 bucks that we spotted on that bean field the other night cross right in front of us. We're trying to get in here at noon to put these stands up so that we didn't disturb anything, but they were coming. We think there's a pond right in there, so they're probably crossing to get a drink, and then they're going to head back to that other bean field on another adjacent property, but they're crossing right here in front of us. That's a good sign, and that's why we're putting tree stands just down this road. In a tree stand right now. They got a good view of this bean field right over here. There's a road right back here that the deer are traveling down. This bean field is really what we want to focus on this time of year. There's also a little bit of a grassy strip right next to this field. Perfect place for those deer to walk before they step out in the bean field. This should be a good stand for us this fall.
We knew going in that this was going to be one of those hunts where the first couple hunts you have are going to be just action-packed. We knew that those bucks were there, and if they were there, we were going to be able to see them.
Well, it's day 2 for us, 3rd day into the Nebraska season. We're in the same stand we were last night overlooking these beans.
We seen them coming the whole way. Everybody was calm. We had it all planned out perfectly. They crossed the fence in front of us and then just kept on going. It was pretty consistent, that soybean field, even after they picked it. I think we made it all the way into middle of October before we eventually didn't see a deer out on that field when we went in to sit. So we were seeing deer every night we went on that soybean field consistently throughout September and into October. Sometimes there's like 30 deer out there in that field, so we knew that's where the deer wanted to be.
We're back in the stand. We sat out a week ago. It's a little cooler out this week. The wind swirling just a little bit, but it's not pushing its way out into this field. Last week when we were here, we had great action. The deer were always working their way across this bean field.
One night we were sitting up there, she had seen something running down the middle of the maintenance road. It's this small little 3x3. He comes walking in, gets so close to us, and then he just beds down about 20 yards from us. We were stuck in the tree for about an hour, not being able to move because this deer was just looking right at us. He eventually just gets up, keeps walking down the road, we don't spook him, and that night I think we had a couple more does also work their way across the field. We had high hopes going into October because we had seen so many deer, we've seen some shooter bucks, we were just trying to game plan, find that rut spot. Our plan is to keep using the soybean field because we've seen the deer that cross this soybean field use it more as like a travel route to get to another place instead of just eating on that field as a main food source. They browse as they go across, obviously, but they're using it to get somewhere else and just avoiding the hunting pressure on the edges. So our plan is to just come back, sit that stand a couple times just to see if they're using it when there isn't any soybeans in it. We've been there at nights and we've always seen a lot of does but no bucks. And as everybody knows, most of the time, a lot of those bucks are moving at night, especially on public land. So in this little strip of trees we're on, we've seen this gap, we've seen a bunch of trails there. That's where the deer kind of like to go when they did cross the fence in front of us. So we just set the trail cam up there. Time of year we should start making mock scrapes. So we decided, let's just hang a trail camera here, hang it over a mock scrape that we created, and see what deer are using our area. We talked to some other hunters, they've done the same thing, got some pictures of some bucks. So we're just doing it to kind of get an inventory of deer in the area. So I set that trail camera up, I think we let it run about 2 weeks or something like that. Went back in and checked it, and we were surprised at the quality of deer that were on there. We actually had more pictures of bucks on there than we did does, which was great. So this night started out as a pretty slow night for us. We weren't seeing much, getting a little concerned that we weren't seeing anything, a little frustrated. And then all of a sudden, we heard something splashing in the river. We looked up and there was 2 does working their way towards us. They ended up just going down the river, getting a drink and turning back around. It wasn't too long after they left. All of a sudden, I'm just looking out in front of me. All of a sudden, I just see tines rise up out of the sandbar Now, at first, I think the tines are small. I'm like, oh, just a small buck. And then he starts to walk out, and it is no small buck. This is a big 5x5 wide rack deer. He is huge, especially on public land. He makes his way off the sandbar, crosses the river, and up and into the woods. We never see him again that night. Brody tried grunting him in. He wanted nothing to do with it, but it was a great sighting to see that big of a deer that close to us on the public land. Going into November, we're gonna kind of not give up on that food source, but we think a hotter spot is gonna be in the travel corridor down along the river.
We're in here to this spot. Our rut hunting stands just across the river here, about 70 yards. All the deer we were seeing were crossing right here where we're sitting, so we moved those stands over here. We sat there this morning, and the tree was like crooked, and the stands just didn't feel safe. And there's like not another tree in here that's straight enough for us to put the kind of stands we got in them. So we're just old schooling it, sitting on the ground, build ourselves up just a little natural blind, sitting on a log. This is where I like to be. We actually feel like we have more cover actually sitting on the ground than we did when we were in the tree. So we'll see what happens. We haven't seen much the last probably 2 or 3 times we sat here, but if they're here, they're gonna walk on this side. So we'll see what happens this evening.
November was just horrible for us. Not very many sightings of deer, just hard with all the pressure. Like once it hits November, that's when everybody hits the public land. And so many people, the deer sightings were down. We just couldn't find any deer, any bucks to go after. And our spot kind of seemed to cool off a little bit. So we went into December kind of not knowing what was next. We kind of, you know, that thought starts to creep into the back of your head that that tag that's still in your pocket may not get filled. It took us a little while to find the deer back. For one thing, it was like negative 15 degrees for like 2 weeks, so we really didn't want to go out there and sit in that and try to find the deer. We got a couple warm days we could go out. We scouted the cornfield because that's kind of our first instinct, was to go to these cornfields. All the carbohydrates and fat and stuff they could get from that food source we thought was going to be where they were going to concentrate in. And there was a food source next to this property, so that's where we went. We sat there 2 or 3 nights. We didn't see a single deer out there, which baffled us. We were like, what the heck, corn's where you're supposed to be. There was nothing there. So we decided, well, let's just go back to that cut bean field. Don't know why they'd be in the cut beans because there ain't nothing there, but maybe they're crossing it to get to somewhere else like we thought they were doing in the early season. So we went back there, set up there one night, and there was deer everywhere on this bean field. It baffled us, but that's where they were. So we set up there, the rest of the late season. So we'd gone down the night before. It's obvious this is where all the deer are. It's where they want to be. So we set up tonight, and what do you know? We wait and we wait, and nothing comes out. They're not coming out at the same time they come out the night before. So we're getting a little worried, and all of a sudden a couple does pop out like, oh, thank God there's deer out there. And then a little bit later, a nice 4x4 jumps the fence and walks out like, okay, big deer in the field. We're watching him, and then what do you know? Out comes another one, and it's that buck with the kicker on his G2 that we saw early on trail camera in October. So we got 2 big deer out there in the field, and we were pumped at this point. So we wait, we're just watching the deer filter out. It's probably 30 minutes before shooting light ends, and a huge deer jumps the fence and just makes his way out in the field, and you can tell he is king. He is the biggest deer around, and we are really excited at this point. And Brody goes, well, look at him a little closer. So I'm looking at him, and I go, you know what, we've seen that deer before. He's got a little bit of a limp to him. That's the buck that jumped up out of the island on us late in October, early part of November there. So it's great to see that deer again, and to see him out in daylight. So we only have about a week left. Usually you don't want to move in like that when they're right there. We didn't want to scare them off this bean field, but we had a week left, so it was kind of all or nothing, especially on public land. We had seen some other people sitting on the edge of that field, and as selfish as it sounds, we didn't want them to get them. We wanted to make a move and make it happen. So we came up with the game plan. We saw they come out. We were to go, sneak in, get as close as we could, and try to get a shot when they entered the field.
We're in the corner of this field where we saw those bucks jump the fence last night, and we are very, very close. We're really pushing the limit this time. Hopefully it pays off for us.
So we move in, set up on the corner of this field, set up off a trail. There's kind of two spots we want to set up on. We decided to set up on the corner trail, set up a little bit farther down the fence, and what do you know, that's where the deer come out that night. Had a nice 2x2, pretty big 2x2, kind of unique, and a doe jumped the fence. They're out there for a while, more does feed out into the field. No big bucks coming, but you know, it's getting 30 minutes left of light. It's that prime time for those bucks to step out. Out jumps a 4x4, but he's on the trail that we could have set up on, but decided not to. He's out there for a while. We just watch him out there as the sun sets for that first night.
The time to make a move here in the late season is now. We got about 5 days left, so we're trying to make something happen. Hopefully it happens tonight. They like to come out of the field right there. Hopefully we get something done.
Our season started out really high. We had a low point there in November. First part of December, we're thinking that low point's just going to carry through. And then all of a sudden we see those 3 big deer out there on that soybean field. So then we're like, oh yeah, we're all pumped up, ready to go after these deer. And then pretty soon there's a week left, pretty soon there's 3 days left, pretty soon we're out there for the last time, and then all of a sudden your season's over. So you can kind of look at it this way. Even if someone told me, you're not going to kill a deer this year, you're not going to kill one next year, you're not going to kill one next year, you'll never kill a deer ever again in your life. I would still buy a permit, Brody would still buy a permit, and it's for this simple fact. It's for being out there and all the experiences and things that we got to see. When we look at these tags at the end of the year, they're going to say a lot more than what it looks like on the surface. On the surface it just says 2016 Nebraska archery deer season, but there's a lot more to it than that. We learned so much this year, got on some big deer, learned what it's like to go after deer that are super smart. I think just going forward, those tags are just going to represent, you know, chapter 1 in this great story that we're just starting to create.
It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust, sweat, and blood, who errs and comes short again and again, but because there is no effort without error and shortcomings, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls, who know neither victory nor defeat. Teddy Roosevelt.